All right, let's do a quick state of the game chat here. I have exactly /played 2 days, 10 hours, 34 minutes of no life in this character. That's 58 hours of current game time. I am in tier 15, plus maps, juicing tablets on everything. We'll talk about that in a moment because the in-game juicing situation is like actually kind of interesting. Arbiter down. Tree completed, except I need to do another breach, and I've been avoiding ritual because I just don't like doing ritual. And who does simulacrum? Let's be honest. But the rest of that, pretty much done. So a good amount of juicing. Farmed about 100 divs. Built the Flame Breath character to about as far as I'm going to go with it. I'm rerolling the HCSSF Fresh Start, level 92 at the moment. Flame Breath kind of online, feeling pretty good. And I've tested out pretty much everything to get a good feeler on the state of the game. Now, the first thing let's talk about, we're going to talk about the Druid. We're going to talk about the state of the in-game. We're going to talk about the league mechanic itself. We'll talk a little bit about the economy, some bugs, and then do like some Gymro feedback. So let's start with the Druid. I talked about this in my previous one, but Druid is actually really fun. I'm hearing Bear is fun. I just saw a video of Zizaran doing a bajillion damage with the Bear. It looked like really fun. People are loving Rampage. I hear Wolf is good, though I haven't experienced it. And the Wyvern, like I can speak from playing the Wyvern. It's a little bit janky, but I actually think it's super fun. So overall, just to very briefly touch on the Druid, because I won't go into like giga detail on it. The Druid actually is pretty fun, minus the jank and minus the bugs. You remove that section out of it, and when they said they actually had a big bug fix patch last night that was supposed to fix a bunch of these issues. I guess there was a dodge row issue and like some other bear jank issues, etc. And I hear that they're doing another one coming up here soon. So it looks like they're on it. They're addressing this. In my opinion, Druid's pretty well received. Pretty fun. Seems people are actually doing builds with it. I see people blasting it in game, and now people are re-rolling off the Druid to other builds, etc. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Maybe 8 out of 10, maybe even 9 out of 10. I actually really like the Druid, and honestly, the Flame Breath build in particular for me was one of my favorite builds kind of all time. It's just kind of, I wouldn't say a visual masterpiece, but it's pretty good. Okay, it's pretty good. Now let's talk about the in-game. The funny thing about this in-game is, in my opinion, it's the best state of the in-game. And this is probably going to turn a little bit of some heads because the new league mechanic and people are saying like, oh, it's kind of the same thing. But I actually think it's even better than last game or last league for the end game. The reason is last league was all about the Abyss, and this league, it's all about the Abyss again. All right, which might be a little bit boring for you, but the Abyss actually got better because we got the new league mechanic tree. And the league mechanic tree is actually pretty good. So the juicing is like actually pretty good this league. Now there was a bug with this. You've probably seen some clips or something. People were printing like literally like a dozen raw divine drops per map. This has been since bug fixed. I'm sure it had some impact on the economy. Didn't get to abuse that one. I tried it for one map. I literally got like 3 rare mobs in. Shit was dropping. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then the whole game crashed and the server went down and they fixed it. So unfortunate for me. But I did get a chance to at least experience it for those 30 seconds or so. And it was like, it was pretty juicy. Now, we have tablets that have been added to the Abyss League. And the Abyss tablets are actually like pretty juicy. You can get bonus rare mobs that can come out. You can get twice as likely every wards. You can get, more or it's like a 30, up to like a 39% chance or something at 4 additional abysses, etc. So basically every map boils down to slamming in your Abyss tablets, running the best juice that you can of the Waystones, maybe you Chaotic Rarity or something like that, and then you actually have like a lot of the mobs. And the mobs themselves with the effectiveness change are a lot tankier now. So the in-game feels significantly better to me because of the effectiveness change in which rare mobs are actually like even more juicy. And then the Abyss tablets on top of the Abyss tree, you kind of get a little bit of like loot explosions now, which is pretty cool if you like that. Maybe you're not someone who really cares about tinks and dopamine and all that. That's fine. But the juicy in the in-game definitely feels better. In my opinion, from what I've experienced. And farming the Divine, I needed to get this Headhunter and all this, was actually a pretty fun experience and felt decently straightforward. Go there, kill the Abyss, etc. So the Abysses are even more enjoyable. This does lead me to believe that every league might actually be like the previous league is the one that we juice or type of thing, because you don't get the Atlas tree in the league that's released. Like right now we have the Vault Temple, but we don't have the Atlas tree. So the next league is always when the previous league becomes better, because you're going to get the tree with it, which is kind of interesting. And I guess you actually need that for the trade-off of the league mechanics don't appear in every single zone. But the thing about it is they appear in every single zone anyway because you're going to use your tablets. So the leagues will always become more juicy the next league if it's kind of like what they're showing as an example here. And this is the first situation in which we had a league go basically core and then get added to the tree, etc. So if they actually add that mechanic as it goes out throughout the game, then the league mechanics releases will always be less juicy for loot, etc. than they are the league after they were actually released, which is kind of an interesting point I'm realizing. So maybe they get in a position where they start releasing Atlas trees for the mechanic, or maybe they need to actually do the league, have the league go out and have it tested before they add the Atlas tree on for it, etc. But I digress. It's literally just a point. Let's talk about the league mechanic itself. I covered this in a little bit of detail earlier, but let's go over it again because I actually have had a chance to fight at Zeri, and I'm going to tell you now, the at Zeri fight is I thought pretty cool. However, if you have DPS and you instantly destroy her and you don't see any of the mechanics and all of that, then you probably want to be like me and have Z DPS when you fight the boss, or juice it because she does juice with the effectiveness and the HP, etc. as you're juicing this. So my boss had like 6-7 million HP or something like that for the first phase and the second phase. And because of that, I actually got to see some of the mechanics, which was kind of cool. But also, it's just thematically really great. You have this whole like lore time where you go to like her chambers and you talk in there, and then Doriani follows you and you go to actually fight her, and they do their little like chat and all that. If you like the lore stuff and you like the yapping and you like the visuals and the story and all of this shit, then you're actually going to really like it, because I thought that part was pretty well done. In my opinion, I really did actually quite enjoy that, listening to it and seeing what happens and all that. Once you're doing that and you're farming her, you're probably not watching that the whole time. But that part was pretty well done. The boss arena I thought was really cool. Visually, going in the second phase is all really cool. That part's all well done. Okay, probably it's going to be the type of thing where I think a lot of people aren't going to get to experience it, because it took me 47 hours to actually get my first Aztiri fight. I say fight because I got one shot at the end. I didn't know one of the mechanics. I was trying to figure out. I won't spoil it for you, but there was a mechanic I wasn't aware of. And if you do die in that fight, you don't get to do it over anything. It deletes your temple and you got to start over again. So 47 hours gone. I'll try it again in another 47 hours. It'll be faster now. I'm kind of memeing a bit because I actually know how the mechanic works here. It'll be significantly faster. I'm just doing the pass straight up, doing the chamber. I'm right in there. But it did take quite a bit of time to get there. So I think most people, unless they're really looking up videos and all that and figuring out from the get-go and just only rushing straight to Aztiri, I think most people aren't actually going to fight Aztiri. However, let's talk about the tempo itself, which is that I think this probably needs some pretty significant changes in terms of reward structure. Visually, it's pretty cool. In terms of a design concept, it's pretty cool. In terms of implementation and logistics on it, it's pretty bad. So basically what happens is you RNG your 6 paths or your 6 random rooms. I wish it was 6 paths, and you have no control over like which ones are going to show up, and then you have to place the paths in the way in order to build these little pieces around it. And the whole system of like building the pieces and like knowing what juices the other one is just really convoluted and really confusing. And the trying to expect people to know how it all actually works is going to be difficult. Now maybe you're of the opinion that the temple itself should be something in which it gets better and better with knowledge and with time and with understanding. Then it'll be better and you can juice it better and all that. Sure, so be it. That's a fine opinion to have. But currently in its state, the actual end result of this league mechanic is going to be that a lot of people are just not going to interact with it, because of the confusion of how it works, the reward structure, and then sort of the kiss curse of like, okay, I can get some, I can fight the architect, but then it deletes like my entire base. I saw this hilarious clip of like Zizran beats the architect and it literally just wipes away his entire tempo, which was pretty funny. So I think a lot of times people are going to be feel like significantly punished just by trying to figure it out, and might feel like it's unfair or not like it, just not engage with it. So currently what ends up happening with me is I just run into the temple and then I immediately close the temple and leave in order to just like do the maps again to get more pieces. And it also takes forever to actually get the pieces. You have to run 6 maps in order to actually charge it to then get 6 random pieces and hope you get pieces that actually work for you. So it's just, it's a little bit of a mess. All right. Need some changes, need some upgrades. That being said, the positive side of this is that this is actually a cool concept. And all of the changes are something they can actually do. This does not need like a fundamental, complete conceptual rework. This is the type of situation in which they need to change the UI to make it more clear, need to adjust the punishment side of it a little bit, need to up the rewards of it a little bit. These are tweaks they can do, even active in the middle of the league, that would actually save the mechanic. There is something here that is really cool. It is a side game style. It's very deep, involved. This is a cool design and a cool concept. It needs some tweaks or else this is going to be a skip for the majority of people. If you are somebody that really likes this mechanic, I am happy for you. I'm not over here raging. This is just like my actual interpretation of what is going to happen with this. It's going to be a bit of a skip for the majority of players currently, and myself included at the moment. Now, let's talk about the economy for a moment. We are, I think, 4 or 5 days into this. Just to give you a basic, well, this is the one people always talk about when we talk about economy, is like the exalt to div ratio. Pretty standard from the previous leagues, about 100 exalts 5 days in will get you a divine orb. Headhunters, I think like 45 divine right now, and that's kind of like the fun chase item for most people. Here you go. But also like items like the constricting command, which are like solid items that are usable for some builds. If you get like a non-corrupted one here, of course, these are all corrupted. Let's just do a quick miscellaneous filter. Corrupted, no. If you just want to get a constricting command, you know, we're talking 15 exalts for one of these. They're not too expensive. If you want one with 4 or fewer, then we start to get to like 200 exalt range or what have you. A couple of divines, so like actually decently manageable. It seems like it's all right. I think there was going to be some influence from the Abyss due to the fact that it is a very juicy league and you can print a lot of currency. We're probably going to see some inflation due to that. That being said, because of the removal of the rituals homogenizing exalts and regos, it does mean that mid-tier gear, like things like these pieces of gear, like with life, couple resistance, and some damage, they're actually worth a little bit. And I don't mean like divines and divines. I mean like you could sell a mid-tier piece of gear for, you know, 25 exalts, maybe a divine if you have a good one. Like I have this ring here, okay, triple res, some life, double attack, pretty good little ring. I could definitely sell this for like 5 divine or something. Like you can sell some items, and I have actually been selling some items for a decent, you know, 25 exalt, and these are like mid-tier items, 25 exalt. So if you craft a decent little item, Heart of the Well, Original Sin, like some of these items actually will sell a little bit. It is harder now to craft due to the removal of the homogenizing, but that does actually mean that when I go and look at something like what's common now, the talismans, and we look at this here, there is a massive gap between, like, you know, the top end of these, like 1000 DPS, 654. Like, look at the gap here, right? I mean, of course, all the bear items are like ridiculous. If you're playing like shapeshift shit, all of the items are like crazy expensive because everyone's playing this stuff. But there is quite a like big difference in gap between items. They don't all look the same immediately. The suffixes will look familiar because of the whole like chance to onslaught plus attack skills, suffix essence slam that's still in the game. So a lot of suffixes look the same, but the items, you actually can see like, oh, that's a pretty good item, as opposed to like there's another one of a million items that people can make. Things like the slip strike chest plate that used to be like super easy to make. For instance, if we look at like this one here, slip strike, it's harder to actually make these now. And so these have some like value actually behind them. So items aren't like all completely worthless, etc. So like it depends how you feel about that, but for me, I actually think this is better. Okay, I didn't like the previous, like every single person has like all like crazy gear you can make with the homogenizing. Maybe not so much as much weapons, but that was probably OP and maybe needed to go or be reworked, so I'm fine with that. That being said, there is some room in things like the Vault Ruins, etc. that like maybe have a similar reward with like a higher tier crafting that could be reward for like either killing that series, etc. We do have some of that within it as well, but if they end up wanting to go back to making crafting like easier to have OP items like it was in the previous league, it would be pretty easy for them to do that and attach it to like new mechanics actually coming out. So there is the potential for them to do that there. That being said, the next portion of this is bugs and feedback. Bugs are being addressed. I'm not going to hammer too much on the bugs because honestly, most of the bugs are just around the Druid shit. There's a little bit of jank there. Performance, there's still some performance issues. There's some crashes, etc. I don't know what to say about that other than they exist and you're not insane if you're experiencing these as well. Performance in terms of frame rate seems to be definitely better in the Abyss this league. However, there's still issues. Okay, and there's still some crashing, etc. They fixed some of the crashing last night, and it has been more stable for me since the bug fix change. My feedback related to this league for the last point here is pretty much all entirely to do with the league mechanic, which I have already stated. And then other than that, I really like that the Abyss tree here is actually feeling pretty good. And I'm looking forward to more and more leagues coming out which actually have like farmable strategies, more mobs that can come out. Like I like where they're going with the Vault Temple, but I think that actually having some things in the map to be able to farm itself is something that is still needed in terms of the end game, because right now in the current state of the game, in the end game, it boils down to everyone's going to do the Abyss because there's not that many strategies. It's just do the Abyss, put the tablets in, farm the Abyss. That's all there really is. This is just a time thing. This isn't like, come on, GGG, do it. They just need time to do the more league mechanics. So I'm a little bit surprised that this league's league mechanic is one that is outside of mapping as opposed to adding another one inside of mapping. As time goes on and they add more leagues, the end game is going to get better and better. And in my opinion, this one was a significant improvement to the in-game in terms of like farming, etc. if you're someone who actually likes farming. So as time goes on and we get more and more of these, I think the in-game is going to improve like decently rapidly. Basically, just judging based upon the effectiveness change, which I think 100% was the right decision, by the way. I think like removing a little bit of the density and adding the effectiveness on made rare mobs actually tankier, made the loot more explosive, and actually made it more a focus on single target. Does matter more. Definitely move in the right direction. And as we get more league mechanics akin to this one, and you kind of choose to specialize, well, I'm going to do Abyss, I'm going to do Breach or whatever. As that starts to have more variety, the in-game will start evolving itself fairly decently. I think it's just a content thing at the moment. So overall, I feel like I'm fairly positive about this. I have seen a lot of opinions of people like saying that other people are complaining and dooming. I have seen some of that in chats, YouTube comments, and on Reddit, but honestly, I'm mostly just seeing people be excited by the Druid, and I am seeing a lot of comments about people not enjoying the league mechanic. That's my impression of other people's impressions, but for myself, I've already laid out how I feel about it, so you're welcome to leave a comment about how you actually feel about the league. But from what I can tell, it seems to be well received, minus the league mechanic side of it, which I guess a league mechanic's a big part of what they would call a league anyway. So fair enough. That's about it. Thanks for watching. See you on the live stream.